get to the wide receivers here. Listen, again, we're going to throw up the breaking news graphic here in the corner, and Malik Nabers is going to make the roster here. I think it's safe to say. And Rob is so shocked he left the room.
How
there
can
he
this
is.
be?
He's back. But Malik Nabers, obviously, he's going to make the roster. The big thing for him this training camp is just stay healthy. Stay healthy. Keep off the foot. We need you for 17 games, guys. That's what we need it for. Wan'Dale Robinson, again, safe to say he's going to make the roster. I think the big thing with him I want to see this training camp, though, is can he be used downfield more? We talked about it before. 3.8 yards is his average depth of target last year. Second worst in the entire NFL. 95 catches. Insanity. This kid needs to get down the field more. And I'm not even blaming him on last year. I'm blaming the offense. I'm blaming the play calling. I'm blaming all those things. But you know what? New play caller, new quarterbacks. No more excuses. This is the year he's got to show up. And he's got to get those drops under control. That goes for Nabers as well. But Nabers is so dynamic, you kind of go, okay, well, he drops the ball occasionally, but look at everything else he does.
Yeah. All right. So he had a case of the dropsies this game, but he still got you 130 yards in offense.
Exactly. Like, let's not forget, one of the best, and we hate to say it, one of the best wide receivers of all time, T.O. That was the one thing on him, was he had the oopsies, dropsies occasionally. And I think he made it fine. Just saying. So
yeah. People tend to forget about his dropsies.
Exactly. Darius Slayton. Again, safe to say they just re-signed him. He's going to make the roster. I think the big thing with him is, and I keep hearing people all the time, and Russell Wilson's why, obviously. Russell Wilson talks about Hyatt every single time he can talk about players. Darius Slayton is not getting enough love for that. Like, you have the guy who has been the best deep threat the entire Dable area. You know, not that that's saying great, because the Dable era hasn't been that great offensively, but he's been
especially in the deep ball,
the only deep threat we have, I should say, even. And you don't think he's going to benefit from having new quarterbacks, especially a guy who does throw a deep ball?
Yeah.
You know, that's legit right there. Like, he should have a good season, and he'll probably go back to what he used to do. You know, close to 700 yards, because he's the only guy who can go deep like that on a consistent basis. You know, Nabers is kind of all over the field. He does deep, middle, and mid, short routes. He does it all. So, you know, Wan'Dale Robinson is just a short route guy. Slayton's your deep threat. And he's going to get, you know, probably just 2-3 catches a game. He's not going to get crazy catches. We've been very clear on that. But he's going to get one catch for 20 yards, one catch for 10 yards, and be, you know, done at 30 yards. And every so often he'll get like a big bomb and have a 60, 70-yard day. And that's where he'll get to his 700 yards. You know, which he's done consistently, by the way. Jalen Hyatt, probably the most hyped up guy in the entire league right now. Yes. Okay, he's gained 20 pounds, guys. Woo, 20 pounds.
Yeah, but when you're 160 pounds in the NFL.
175.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think again, when we talk about all the time, the speed is his big thing, and he added 20 pounds. What did that do to speed, first off? And
I'll make you slower.
You can get 20 pounds on. That doesn't mean you can get off press coverage necessarily better, because that's just as much technique as it is anything else. It's not like he couldn't get off of press coverage because he was light, and that's the only reason why. Did it hurt him? Hell yes, it hurt him. But it's also technique. Because if it was not something you can get around with technique, then how does Steve Smith work in this league? You know, how does Smith over in Philadelphia work? Like, you can be a smaller receiver and make it work. You just have to have really, really good form and technique to get off the press coverage.
Yeah.
And that's what he's lacking.
I say Hyatt's lacking that.
Yeah.
Who just pretty much was a speedster and never. He was faster than everyone in every step of his way. No pun intended with that. You know, his whole life until he got to the NFL. And I guess he never put into work to get the technique in there to get off coverage, to get off press.
And I'm hoping, because you hear a lot good about him, maybe he did a lot of work this offseason. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I need to see it before I start believing in him. But he's going to make this roster. You know, that's point blank. He's going to make this roster. Davis Nabers was the best deep threat in college too. Again, he is a guy who can be a deep threat. But what I'm saying with Nabers is deep, mid, and short. Slayton is just straight long. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Jay says Rob's 100% right. Those speed guys never develop other skills; they rely on speed. But I wonder if eventually you can have one of these guys look at that and go, you know what, this is a mistake, guys. We're messing up here. We need to work on this.
Yeah, I mean, not every speedster. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of them fall in that trap because
they do.
They don't have to learn the technique to get off of press because they just gotta run everyone. Like that's just. But you gotta put a little route run in there, and that's like how you become a speedster in an NFL that becomes successful. Like you just you have to put in the work and not just rely on your speed the whole time, especially later in your career in the NFL, because you tend to lose a step as you get older.
Yeah, or as you put on some weight, like 20 pounds perhaps. Yeah. Just saying, like, I feel like that's not being talked about enough. Like, okay, you put 20 pounds on,
you
but
literally like
what's your speed?
Do you really think he was 175 pounds? It's probably closer.
I don't know. And honestly, I don't care as far as if he was or wasn't, but he says he's 195 now.
That's what I'm saying. So you go from 175 to 185. That's what? 11% of your body weight?
I'm just saying that's what I'm caring about more.
That's a significant amount of weight. Like,
I don't care what his actual playing weight was or what it is now. I just care about the fact that he thinks clearly he put 20 pounds on. Regardless of where he was and where he is, he thinks he put 20 pounds on.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm just wondering what's going to happen, And Jay says all those dudes who put on weight get soft tissue injuries or continue sucking. We'll see.
Well, if you do it fast, that's correct.
Yeah. But again, he did have the quarterback issue, and we can't ignore the fact that he literally is a guy who all he did was take deep routes, and he had quarterbacks who couldn't throw deep, and offensive lines that couldn't block to get a quarterback to able to throw deep. Like, there is those other factors. So I'm not ready to give up on him, but I'm not going to be optimistic about him either. Trying to be realistic. Zach Pascal. I think the big question really this year is going to be, can he be more than a special teamer? We mentioned it. That's what he's been doing really in the, with the Cardinals the last few years. He had some years in the past where he was an actual member of the receiver room. But the last couple of years, all he's been is a special teamer. And I don't think we can do that with a guy who's a veteran. When I say special teamer, by the way, guys, he's not a returner. He literally is a guy that runs down on special teams and runs after the kicker. Runs after the kick returner, blocks on the outside there. Like, I don't want to belittle it, but you're 30 years old, dude. Like, you haven't had more than 150 yards since 2021.
Yeah.
Like, that's I'm not intrigued by that at all. And to me, it's there's so many, and we'll get to all the undrafted rookie free agents we got here because we got a ton of them. But I look at those players and I go, don't tell me one of those kids can't play special teams, and we can see if he can actually be a receiver. I'm tired of having guys that all they do is special teams. I get it with a kick returner, punt returner. Like, that's cool. Like, I get it. But you have a 53-man roster. That doesn't mean you can have 10 people that just play special teams and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, we've done that a lot in the past. I feel like we've had just guys who are special team people, and that's all they are. And it's okay to have one or two. But we just signed how many linebackers this season, That's what they've been. So I think it's time for Zach Pascal to either find a new home at the end of the training camp or to recognize that his time might be up in the NFL. And again, not a bad career. Never was a great player, don't get me wrong, but he still lasted 7 years in the NFL. It's more than twice the average. So, decent career. Probably made some money along the way, obviously. Made a few mil. He's set. He's fine. As long as he was smart. But like I said, I'm not impressed with that signing at all. Now, talking about special teamers, Amir Smith-Marset is technically classified as a wide receiver, so we're going to include him here. Let's be very frank. All he is a returner. All he is. Not a guy who plays wide receiver at all. I'm not going to expect him to play wide receiver at all. And I think that's the one thing that drops him into the conversation of, do we keep him? Because at some point, you want to see him have at least some usage as a wide receiver in this league. Some usage. You know, he's got 14 receptions in his entire career. That's in 4 years, guys. That's not a very good number of receptions. But he is a damn good returner. And that's what's going to keep him employed in the NFL, whether it's us or somebody else. Somebody will take him for that. You know, he did return that kick, that punt also with the, I guess, was that against the Colts, I think, that game where everybody was scoring touchdowns? You know, so, you know, that was an exciting one there. I just think he's probably going to make the roster. You know, he'll probably make the roster because of the fact that he can back up. You know, I mean, because he can take kick return. You know what I mean? He'll be the punt returner, the main one there on the roster. But I just wish he could be a backup. Give me some value as a receiver. And that's why I'm so curious on Turbo Miller. We talked about him before. Because if he can produce something as a running back and return punts, I'd rather have that than a player that I'm having strictly as a punt returner that is, you know, already been in the league for a little while there. It's going to be 26 when the season starts. We've already seen he can't play wide receiver.
Yeah.
I want a little more upside. Again, I want guys who are just special teamers, and that's all they are. But if I have to do it,
Joe Judge era.
Yeah, but if I have to do it, Smith Marset is the one guy I'm okay with, besides obviously the kicker, punter, and long snapper. Those guys are allowed to be. Next up, Lil Jordan Humphreys. Talked about him before.
Jordan.
Good size, bad hands, horrible name. Just not a good player. Again, Denver fans were happy when he left there. The one thing he has going with him, though, is he is probably the only legit big target with any NFL experience whatsoever on this roster. Like, if you want a bigger receiver, and that's something that's on your checkpoint, you know, so to speak, of, you know, what you want. He's 6'4", guys. That's big for a wide receiver. 225 pounds, which is still decent. He's not far off from being a tight end. If he hangs out with Jalen Hyatt and adds 20 pounds, he's a tight end. So I just don't,
to the Golden Corral.
I don't see it happening. But one injury, he's there. He's that close.
Yeah.
Because he's got some NFL experience there. So let's get to a couple more of the comments here real quick, because we're going to get into a guy here next that we have a couple comments on. So let's see. Mac, the Giants fans, I think every receiver on this roster will benefit from a much better quarterback room. Nabers is such an extraordinary talent that he was still able to be very productive despite the poop show a year ago. Yeah, 100%. We said that. If you can get 1,200 with those two quarterbacks, imagine what we could do with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, 1,400, 1,500. Like, I don't think that's crazy. I just don't know if he's going to keep up the same kind of share of targets. And that's the one question with that. You know, Russell Wilson may want to spread around a little more. Let's see. Sure. Jay says, Bryce Ford weapon? Whedon? You meant Whedon?
What are you talking about? He's the best. He's the weapon.
Well, that's where we're at here is Bryce Ford Whedon. That's our next guy up there. So, listen, guys, I think this is his last shot. He's been 2 years now in the league. First year was injured, so I get it. Really didn't get a chance to do anything. This last year, he was really special teamer. And again, as we talked about with Miller, Rob and I were banging the drum for Ford Wheaton to be playing nonstop versus the Eagles. Let's see if we got it all with this kid, because they used him on special teams, and that was pretty much it. Well, we blew that shot. We didn't do it. And we still don't know what he is. But Rob and I have said all along, and we will continue to say all along, he is extremely athletic. He has hands like JPP. Like, he can't catch. Look at his catch percentage when he was at West Virginia. He's not a good receiver, guys. There's a reason he wasn't drafted. And we've been screaming that since day one. Everybody got excited. Look at this kid. He's a highlight reel maniac. Yeah. Show his highlight reel and then let's look at his lowlight reel. All the drops, all the bad plays he made. Like, I get he's got a very impressive highlight reel. He's absolutely amazing athletic person. But that doesn't make you a good receiver automatically. There's nuances. There's route running. There's hands. These are things that you don't develop naturally. You have to go get it. That's the problem. As Jay says, he isn't a natural receiver at all. He has no skills, just athletic. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, he'd probably be great in track and field. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
He's probably better suited. Those guys still good, just don't get it paid as much. It is what it is. So yeah, to me, it's time to move on. It's been time to move on. I was saying it last year, even it's time to move on from him. But hopefully, this is the year we do that. Montrell Washington. This man literally has not seen the NFL field since 2022.
Yeah, probably won't see the field.
Yeah, let's just keep it at that. Keep it simple. All right. Let's give you the list of all the undrafted rookie free agents because they're all going to get kind of lumped together here, guys. Juice Wells Jr., Dalen Cambry, Daquan Felton, Bo Collins, and Jordan Bly. They were getting a lot of buzz late in the spring practices there. Cambry especially is one of the ones I know Wells was, Felton was, Collins was. I didn't hear as much in Bly. But they're getting a lot of buzz. I would not be shocked at all if one of these guys sneaks onto the roster and one or two end up on the practice squad. Like, I really think the Giants looked at this draft and they said, we don't need to draft a wide receiver. There's plenty of good ones we can get later on. We can go pick up a couple of UDFAs and get them. And Cambry, to me, is the most interesting one because the guy was a special teamer. Like, legitimately, that's what he was. He was not a guy who was, some guy running out and doing 1,000-yard seasons and stuff like that. If you look at his stats, even before you even see anything as far as receiving stats, you see his special teams tackles. That's what he was known for, was special teams. He had a total of 123 receiving yards at his 5 years at Louisiana. Not very good. But you've seen a lot of plays from him this spring, and the Giants seem to have some faith in him as a potential wide receiver. And I don't know if the Giants staff saw something that Louisiana didn't see. Let's be honest, it's not the biggest school. It's not the best school as far as, football is worse. Don't get me wrong. But there's a whole lot better as well. And I just wonder if they see something that nobody else, was able to fix that worked with him prior. Because he's definitely a guy that has a chance there. And like I said, all these guys do. So they'll probably get one or two, Will. So, again, Nabers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Amir Smith-Marset should make it as the punt returner. And then, like I said, one of these UDFAs will make the roster. And that'll be your 6 wide receivers.
Yep.
So
it's pretty kind of dry. It's like, that's the one thing that we knew going into this.
But we just don't know what UDFA is going to be. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
That's going to be somewhere to be watching nonstop to see.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the Goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.